You're listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody Cedarstrom in the morning, where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth. Welcome to Power Talks. I'm Beth Ann, and say good morning to my partner, Melody, as we co-host together and empower you with the truth. Good morning, America. Good morning, Melody.
Good morning. Good morning, listeners.
Did you have a great weekend?
Yes, I did. It was very pleasant. The weather was just absolutely beautiful here on the eastern shore of Maryland, and just absolutely beautiful. How was yours?
Mine was good. We had some bad weather come through here. It's trying to cool off and turn winter on us. That's what it's trying to do. But sun is shining today, but it's a little cooler out there. And we had storms come through and knocked all my computers out here in the office. I say all of them. I have one. The other one's already dead. And so they didn't want to come on this morning. So I feel a little not as prepared as I ought to be. But I saw this article, and I thought, I think we could fix it. I think that this would be an easy fix. Bo Bergdahl, he claims that the Taliban treated him better than the U.S. He pleaded guilty to desertion charges this month earlier and complained that the Taliban treated him better than the U.S. Bergdahl is 31 years old, told the British TV journalist Sean Langan in an interview printed in Sunday's Times in London that the torture he went through at the hands of the Taliban was less of a problem than the administrative duties the army assigned him as he awaited trial. And I'm thinking, we could remedy that. A one-way ticket back to the Taliban, and he'd be all fine and dandy. What do you think?
Well, I agree. If he gets anything less than life, I will be very disappointed. But I assume it would just be another sign of, it's. What do you think? Don't you think he should get?
I think he should get whatever the worst you can possibly get.
I agree.
He says at least the Taliban were honest enough to say, I'm the guy who's going to cut your throat. Here it could be the guy I pass in the corridor who's going to sign the paper that sends me away for life. And I'm thinking, you're just crazy. He hasn't learned anything. We may as well go back to kangaroo courts and lynch mobs.
Yeah.
He's not learned a thing. I'm kind of in agreement on that lynch mob. I'm kidding. I
get
that. Halfway, I'm kidding. But anyway, I think we could remedy his problem, Nobody would have to do anything here. Let's send him back there for a lifetime with the Taliban. How long do you think that'll be?
Well, no, that wouldn't be. He enjoys it, and he respects them, so that wouldn't be any punishment for him.
They would kill him.
You think so?
Yes, I think they would. Yeah.
Well,
I think they would take his head. I think they would.
Well, so then let's just slap him in jail for life.
Well,
he gets 3 meals
then
a
we
day,
have to
which is
feed
probably
him.
2. I know.
We have to feed him and entertain him. And, the Taliban, he likes them better. Let's send him over there.
Okay. All right. We got something.
I did see something this weekend, and I didn't tell you about this before, and I just now saw an article about it. But I got it on Twitter. Saturday morning, as I was getting ready to leave, we had an all-day Saturday thing to go to, and I sent it to my husband so that he could watch it on his phone, and it was a video taken by a member of a family that had just lost their dad. It was Gold Star family, and they taped audio and videoed when the president called their mother to give his condolences. And this happened back in April, but they've decided to show this now because of what's going on with the president and show that he wasn't everything that everybody was making him out to be, the bad guy. But the reason it caught my attention was this woman had 5 children by this husband, and the oldest is 20 and the youngest was 4. I watched the video a couple of times, and it was just really neat how the president talked to her. You'd have thought they'd known each other for a while, other than he was asking her questions. Now, her boy was playing football for college, but he had an academic scholarship, and the president was just so impressed, and he said, well, what about your other kids? Are they doing well, too? And she said, oh, yes, they are. And Then she told who her son was playing for, and he was playing for the MU Tigers. He was playing for Missouri. And so I had to, because my husband's a big Tiger fan. He's a big MU. They've had a disappointing year football, but he's a big MU Tiger fan. And so I thought, and the video, if you get, it's kind of gone viral if you watch it. It's just very moving. And he told her, he said, I know there's lots of people to go through. He said, but if you get in D.C., you come here and you see me in the Oval Office. I want to meet you. And told her over and over again what a hero her husband was. She says, I've always been proud of my husband, but I'm more proud of him now than I have ever been. And it was just it was a wonderful conversation. And anyway, it was kind of neat.
We talked about this on my Friday show on financial survival, and earlier in the day in the morning program, I had made a comment. You got all over my case. I says, what's a 71-year-old man having to ask advice on what you say to extend sympathy? And that was my point. I think he knew exactly what to say. And he said it, and this was proof. He really didn't have to ask, because he had the heart that he needed to extend his sympathies to this widow. And that's what and that's why I think sometimes Mr. Trump gets himself into his own creative messes.
Well,
he knew,
but he needed
this showed he had the compassion.
He needed the assurance, and it's kind of like a conversation. If you and I were sitting there,
and I agree, and
you'd say, "Well, what am I going to say?" Because of the conversation you and I had, my son, who is a chaplain, who is a pastor, and he came in to have lunch with his mommy on Friday, and I was telling him about our conversation. He says, there's never anything you can say. You just have to be there. He said, it's just, and he of course, he didn't hear this video. I mean, he hadn't heard this audio yet. I didn't see that until Saturday morning, like I said, and it was quite moving, and the family was very appreciative, and she told him over and over and over again how appreciative she was of him, and I kind of got the impression he didn't really want to hang up. He was really having a great conversation with this woman and getting to know her like you could just feel the heart. He really wanted to get to know this family. And anyway.
And that was my point. Again, I wasn't criticizing Mr. Trump when I had made that statement and going there. What I'm saying is that he had the heart and he knew exactly what to say. I'm giving him a kudos for the moment. So, and I think you're not hearing it in that manner. I
hear it now.
And that is my point. The point is he knew exactly what to say, and I'm glad there was a video to show the world that he did have the heart and that he was, being who everyone says he is. So, no, it's kudos to Mr. Trump and for the widow who released the tape, but that certainly wasn't enough for the Democrats and for the rock star out of Florida. And even they criticized.
Don't give her name. I'm just calling her that woman. I'm not giving her any kind of recognition.
The rock star.
Oh my gosh. Well, and not only that, they're going after General Kelly.
I was just going to say that, and they can't leave him alone. And again, they've created this distraction that really wasn't even necessary. And, it's just, they need to move on. And
they're just not going to. This article that I have, and I'm telling you, this shows their insanity. This is, who is the guy? He's MSNBC's Daily Beast columnist, Jonathan Alter. And he weighed in on this dispute between the White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, and that woman, saying that Kelly needed to indicate he was not operating as if the United States is a banana republic. Now, where did he ever get anything about a banana republic? What did what did General Kelly say in any way, shape, size, or form that would make you think that he had some kind of a dictator authorship, that's a new word, over the U.S. as a banana republic? He goes on to say Kelly was wrong on the facts. Maybe not wrong. No, not alternative wrong. Facts wrong. He was just wrong. Does that make any sense to you? And it's extraordinarily important that we keep the facts in our focus here, and especially for him. He needs to indicate that he has not gone all Trump on us, and he has not become not just another banana republic who operates as if we're living in some Latin America banana republic. We can't have that. What is he referring to? This is his comment, but I have no clue what he was referring to, but then, of course, it's kind of a telltale sign. He needs to let us know he hasn't gone all Trump. It's like, these people, they're just, I mean, that sounded insane, what he said, because it made absolutely no sense. If you're going to criticize somebody, you need to give me the facts. What is it exactly that General Kelly said that made you think that he was part of a banana republic? They have completely lost their minds, and I had another article here. The hate that they're showing, and this is coming from another man that we know in his past we don't always trust him. But Newt Gingrich had said that the hatred from the left has left them a little, he said, deranged. And I said, I'd rather be deplorable than deranged. And that's exactly what we're hearing from them. That woman, the comments she made, the comments that this MSNBC guy made, it's like they've absolutely gone bonkers. That's my opinion.
A very good one.
Thank you. I don't have a degree, but I can tell you they're bonkers.
Well, again, it's just like, most people, they just read the headlines anymore. They don't even bother reading and trying to see what the writer is trying to say or is saying, so they don't come to the same conclusion, that, those who do read and, we want the facts. If you're going to say something, give us the facts. And that way we can go out and search to see if those facts are true or not, and where you're coming from. But
speaking of facts,
it's just
speaking of deranged facts, I don't know who this guy is. I should have Googled, but he's some billionaire or millionaire, and he's a billionaire. Tom Steyer, Steyer. Does anybody know who he is? Well, he donates to the Democrat Party's mega donor, and he's a California billionaire. And he's announced a $10 million national advertising campaign calling for Trump's impeachment. Now, the reasons they're calling for his impeachment are just nuts. They're calling him mentally incompetent. Where do they get the proof of this? They just say, well, psychiatrists that have watched him say it. Well, you can't. Well, I think some of these others, that woman and some of these others are deranged and need to be put in straitjackets. But this guy is, the things he was claiming, it goes back to the Russia thing, because he colluded with Russia. He should be impeached because he colluded with Russia. This guy has given a lot of money for to combat global warming, and I think he's got more money than brains. I hear music. Anyway, this guy they're calling for his impeachment for several different things, but most of those, like the Russian thing, there's no proof on that, but they're still claiming it, regardless of facts. I hear the music. We're going into a break, and I apologize, I haven't given the number out. 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218 in Melody and Beth Ann with Power Talks. We'll be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Yuji. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more, using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned to listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann. Apparently Beth Ann is fired up. Melody was giving me a hard time during the commercial break that I was all fired up. And, I came in this morning, I thought I had nothing because computers wouldn't come up, nothing wanted to work. They're on their last leg, and I want to finish up, and then I'm going to let Melody tell you whatever story she's got.
I'm afraid to.
I'm ready to bring the lynch mobs back. No, I'm just kidding.
Come on,
Okay.
listeners, maybe you can calm her down a little bit this morning.
I told Melody, I got to go get some more coffee. She goes, you don't need any. Okay, the number to call is 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. Well, this Tom Steyer, he's making this ad to impeach the president, and I would assume he's giving everybody the phone number for their Congress. He says in the ad, to join us, Steyer argues that Trump is unfit for office because he has pushed the U.S. toward nuclear war, threatened the shutdown of news organizations he does not like, accepted money from foreign governments, and obstructed justice at the FBI. Okay, so everything he's saying there is untrue. President Donald Trump has not led us to a nuclear war. Yeah, we're on the brink of it, but it's not because he's put us there. And he did not threaten to shut down news organizations. He made the comment, maybe we ought to check into their licensing. He didn't say we're going to shut them down. And it has not been proven that he accepted money from foreign governments, although it has been proven that Hillary Clinton did. And he did not obstruct justice by firing James Comey. I was laughing. I said, everybody wanted James Comey fired. Everybody did, until he got fired. And then the Democrats were all in an uproar about him getting fired. So these people that hate Donald Trump just because they want to hate Donald Trump, they have just gone absolutely crazy. And I had an article from, and then I'm going to give it to Melody. I had an article here from Newt Gingrich that I mentioned earlier that he was saying they've gone so far that they're deranged, and they are. I mean, nothing he stated there has any facts behind it. They misinterpret everything President Donald Trump says. I think only the layman, only the deplorables can understand his language. But I said I'd rather be deplorable than deranged. Of course, this morning Melody thinks I'm a little deranged, but that's okay.
Well, you don't have them writing about Nancy Pelosi. She's out there and she can barely make a statement without having brain freezes, as you know, for lack of a medical proper terminologist.
We call it something else.
Well, I get that, but on there, so, no one is questioning, her ability to keep the position that she has, and so many other ones, like the rock star down there. I mean, these people have a serious problem, and but yet nothing is, being said, or perhaps they should be replaced. So you had the woman, was it the congressman or the congresswoman or the senator in Utah that said, Trump should be assassinated. It's like, are you kidding me? And these people still have their positions.
Well, Utah, there was one in Missouri that did that.
Was it Missouri? That's right. It was Missouri. Yes, and I think there was another one in Utah that kind of agreed. But again, it's just like, what is wrong? I mean, if you talk about mental problems and hatred, if you have the facts and you've got proof. And if you think that this is a problem, well then give us your facts and make your case, make your argument. But they're just so good at calling people names and that's
all they can do.
That's all they can do because they don't have anything else.
I thought I brought it in here. I had an article in it. Of course, I'm not a Chris Wallace fan. And they were interviewing Chris Wallace, and he didn't name any names, but he was talking about the Fox hosts that have helped reiterate that the media is unfair to Donald Trump and fake media, and that they're lying and everything. And he was putting the hosts down, and of course everybody knows he was talking about Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, and they mentioned Jesse Waters. And I did, I told a few weeks ago, I said they spend an awful lot of time saying what the other media isn't covering or the other media. But, the American people I think we're figuring it out. Some of us were a little quicker to figure it out than others, but the mainstream media is still not covering this issue with the uranium in Russia. They will not talk about it, not in any length anyway. They just kind of poof it to the side. But they went after this phone call to this military wife and went on and on and on about it. And, then it is a distraction, but then the Fox people, they do the same thing. And here we're not talking about some of the other issues that are happening. And like you said, Trump has done a lot of things, President Trump, that he's not getting credit for. He's still fighting the federal judges, the circuit courts, but he has covered a lot of things that he's trying to. It's really unusual, whether you agree with his campaign promises or not. It's unusual that we have an elected official actually try to take care of the campaign promises, and I think he is trying. We may not like all the way he's doing it. I would prefer no taxes, but I don't think that's going to happen. But they're trying to get the tax reform. He still says he's going to go back and get the national health care taken care of, and I don't know. It's a mess that we're in. I've never seen this nation so divided, and I lived through the Detroit fires, riotings and the fires and the looting and all that. And I don't think I've ever seen it as divided as it is now.
Well, I agree with you. And we'll just have to see how these programs come about, the tax cuts. Hey, anything that you can give for tax cuts for the middle class, that's a
Let's do it.
But the thing of it is, it's really not going to be helpful
for
this country. Yes, and there's a lot of parts of that, the tax reform I don't agree with, and I don't think they should be done. But until we get the details, and that's the problem, we never get the details until it's already passed and voted for, and then we get the details. And it's just like, give us the details now. Don't just give us some sort of a, blueprint or, that you want. This is what you want. Tell us what you're going to do. And they don't do that. We get, it's going to be this, where we want to do this. Well, you know what? Until it gets down to what they're actually voting on, that's when I want to know what it is before they take the actual vote. And, of course, that never happens because they do it at midnight every night. And those that are on holdouts or handouts, they get in and deals are made with them, so they vote the way that they're supposed to vote. And it's just, it isn't any different. I don't see it any different. And I don't know what could actually make it different. But anyway.
That's exactly how they did it when they passed the income tax in the first place 100 and some years ago.
Yep,
and it's
absolutely.
what happened when they turned it over to the Federal Reserve. It was done in the dark of the night on a holiday weekend, which, tells you right there they're up to no good because they don't work holidays.
And everything is coming down to this holiday, too. You have the debt ceiling that's coming up on the 16th.
Every single year.
Yep.
Every single year. It does the same thing. They do the same thing.
They do the same thing. So, but, and
well, you want to know
reasons, and we did a report on faith that, 40% of Democrats basically have no affiliation.
It was that high?
Yes,
or that low, or that low, I should say.
Yeah, really. This is what they admit to. They still have to get votes. And
well, they are the party that
40%.
booed God.
Yeah,
they are the party that booed God.
But I thought,
of course, then when they had the convention last year, they were all about that, But year before they booed him, they booed God.
I came across a lengthy article. It's actually out of the Baltimore Sun. It was a couple of weeks. I think it was like October 10th. And this really isn't a surprise, but yet it shows the direction that this country is headed. And it talks about how decades you've had such a falling away from churches that they're merging because they don't have enough, a large enough congregation to support them financially. And so they have a dwindling number of congregants. The article was talking about these two churches that are going to be merging, and they hope that they'll be able to stay. And the article was about how this country, and I'll see if I can't. It's lengthy, so I don't want to go into the whole thing. But this Brown Memorial Woodbrook, which is about 2 miles from this other church, they're teaching LGBT equality and other social justices or social justice issues. It's like, what? If they just preach about God, they probably wouldn't have a falling away from their churches.
Yeah, but if they read the Word...
If they read the Word...
They would have to be held accountable for their actions, and people don't want to be held accountable. That's what abortion is all about. They don't want to be held accountable. And now they're choosing which sex, so they want to have absolute control. It is just unreal, the depth that people are going to.
And they make like this is a big, surprise. The memberships at churches and synagogues have fallen by nearly 20% since World War II. This is according to Gallup. The Episcopal Church and the Presbyterian Church have lost nearly half their members since 1967. More than 1,000 Catholic parishes have closed since 1995. And the number of Jews who call themselves culturally but not religiously Jewish is rising sharply among millennials. And there's been a few faiths that have fared better. The Muslims and the Orthodox Jewish. Those populations are growing. Now, you have evangelical Christianity numbers. They're kind of holding steady, but more than 20% of Americans say they're unaffiliated with any religion, and that's the highest number ever. And so, I mean, it really is a sign of what really is happening to this country.
What's happening is the things that we talk about, they're symptoms of a sick, sinful people that have fallen away from God. And you know, these things, abortion and this lying and these ranting and raving and the division, everything, those are symptoms of what it is without God. They don't have Him in their heart. And, you know, that article we had last week where this humanist group that believed you could be good without God, it's not possible.
This article goes on and it talks about, you know, there's a Reverend Daniel Webster. I'm not quite sure which church he was from. Oh, he's canon for evangelism and media for the Episcopal Diocese of Maryland, my state. Well, I'm not going to call Maryland my state. It's the place where I reside.
You're living there.
I'm living here.
You're living there, voting there.
Yeah, it's not my state. You know, so Maryland's definitely not one of my favorite states. But anyway, he talks about regulation. He's blaming regulation on why they're having problems. He's blaming commercial activity on Sundays. He's talking like the shopping malls are open now, that they're competing with the congregations, youth soccer, pro football games, and that's why people are no longer going to church.
There is, you know, what General Kelly said, some things were considered sacred and they're not anymore. Well, I talked on Friday on CSE Talk Radio. Do you remember when Sundays, the blue law, that was sacred? You didn't see things open. The stores weren't open. Other activities didn't go on Sundays. Wednesdays used to be considered the same. Church activities came before school activities. They didn't, but now there's so much stuff going on in the schools that the kids, if they're in like a church choir or they're in a church organization, youth group or whatever, and it's on Wednesday nights, they're at school. If you have a program at school on Sunday, then you can't go to church on Sunday morning or Sunday evening or whichever it is. It's not sacred anymore. It's not set aside in, in respect. So I understand some of what he's trying to say. So we've got these priorities mixed up. But if your child is in the special choirs or in the choirs and they have their Christmas program and they decide to do that on Sunday, do you say, well, no, because we're going to go to church? Or do you say, yeah, that's only one Sunday and we're going to let them do this? And when I was younger, they didn't do it on Sundays and they didn't have things on Wednesdays. They didn't have ball games on Wednesday nights. They tried to stay away from the practices and other things. I mean, they might have had practice after school, but on in the evenings where it would take people away from church. And so those days are no longer considered respected or sacred to the church, to the people of Christian faith, where they would have their Sunday and Wednesday evening prayer vigils or prayer groups or prayer meetings.
I do agree with that, and I can see the relationship, but I also think coming from a reverend, I think it's a cop-out. Instead of just saying, hey, we're preaching the wrong message. And of course, yes, they are controlled by government anyway. They're not allowed to, there's certain things they can and cannot discuss. But I think more it's the message, and it's that they're not preaching they're not preaching the gospel.
The word.
And and I think that is, to me, that's the main issue. And I think, The state blue laws, I think it's a cop-out from these preachers, because they're certainly not going to say, well, it's us, that we're not doing the right thing in order to bring. Look how turned off. Well, particularly people of an older generation, me. I don't like going to these churches where they have bands and your words up on the wall. That's
careful now.
Why? No.
See, I like that, but I'm a music person, so I've been music director in the churches, so I do know about that.
I guess I'm a traditional person.
You are, but if you go back and you read Ephesians 6. And it talks about the worship, and it talks about the old songs, the new songs, and the scriptures and the things that they do. And if you go back and you read Nehemiah, when they planned the great worship time to dedicate the wall, and they had choirs and they had singers, it had everything, and they had the bands and they had it all. Because I've got two sons that is what they do. They are worship leaders, and you can do, I had people that complained because they wanted to have the book in their hand and they couldn't even read music. It's like, what difference does it make? It's only the words you're following. So you can't say it's because of how they do the music. You can't say it's because of the message and in the heart.
Let me just say one thing. I think coming from you, I would think, and being the music director and also from your son, you probably do have a little more heart in life. But I've because I've moved, I have tried to find a home. I've tried, and I've visited many, and I think what happens is they just, it's almost like, it's just, we're going to put these, there is no heart. And again, it comes back to the teachings, I believe, to what is the heart of the church. And so I think and I would agree that because you do have, it comes from you, and I get that. But in the churches that I've experienced, and I've just experienced the wrong ones, I suppose, that people are just not chanting, but just, they have no heart. It seems like people in churches no more, and I'm not saying all churches, I'm not saying all people, I'm getting myself in a bigger and bigger hole here, I should just. But there is something missing anymore.
Well,
there is a heart that
my
seems
son that's
to be
the
missing.
Pastor, he says it's the love that's missing.
It's the love that's
people
missing.
can feel that when it's not the music, it's not the choice of music, it's the love. I was in a church where,
that's where I was
there were those who got up and did solos that shouldn't be up there doing solos, but it was their heart. They were expressing something from their heart, and it goes back to the love. And, yesterday at Sunday school we were reading the love chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 13. If we're just a bunch of noise and we have no love, then it's a clanging cymbal. It's of no use to anyone. But if we're not teaching love, and my oldest son, who is a full-time music pastor, he calls himself, he says, I'm the lead worshiper. I don't lead everybody in worship. I'm the lead worshiper. And he said that the welcoming and how people feel starts in the parking lot. It starts when they first get out of the car.
That's very true.
And all the way in, how they're he's because of his, you wouldn't think necessarily, but he insists that he's in charge of the ushers and everything that happens as they come in to begin worship, and his job is to bring them to that time when they can hear the word. Now, it's a Southern Baptist church, and that's what I belong to. I grew up Methodist, but I belong to Southern Baptist Church now and have been, and that's what I have directed music in and directed choirs in. I've been the worship leader in those, or the lead worshiper, whatever you call it. They didn't call me pastor because I was female, but I played the same role. So I know the arguments against the music because I've been in a part of that. I've been the target of that. But at the same time, I always mixed it. I mixed it with the traditional and the new. I mixed it.
And that's go ahead.
No, that was all I was going to say. I mixed it, and it's just. I've got sons that do that, so I know that in and of itself is not. But the son that I have that's a pastor, he always says it's the love. We're not showing the love to the people when they come into the church.
And that comes back to what these churches are all about anymore. They're not preaching the gospel. They're not
I get tired of programs.
And
we got to have more programs. We got to do this on this night. Well, next thing you know, families don't have any time at home.
When I lived in Missouri, I went to a little church in Warsaw.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the biggest, it had such an impact in my life. Mm-hmm. And I was in the choir. Mm-hmm. The congregation was 100 people. The choir, on a good Sunday, we had maybe 10 in the choir.
Yeah, I've had that.
And most times, and it used to always amaze me, no matter how many numbers we had, and no matter how bad we thought we sounded, it was always amazing what the
congregation heard.
What they heard. Mm-hmm. And, and sometimes we would stop at the end of the song, we would stop and we'd look at one another because we were really good. and most of the people in the choir, they didn't know how to read music. Mm-hmm. But you can follow. You don't have to know how to read music, but you can follow.
I heard somebody say one time, I can tell when
you go up and when you go down.
Black and white notes are going up and down over the fence.
When to hold, and when to fold.
Well, and a good director will help you through that, too.
Yes.
If you're looking.
So books and notes do make a difference, but, so, anyway.
But they also can be a distraction. Yes. Be a distraction. So,
but I thought that article was important today as we see this falling away and what preaching, and it's kind of a sign of our society and the direction that we're headed. And I'm a firm believer in order to turn this country around, we do need to bring God back into.
We need to get on our knees, and we're not talking national anthem. We're talking about in prayer for revival.
Absolutely.
I hear music. We had a little church going on here.
We're going to talk about North Korea when we get back.
All right. We're going to talk about North Korea. We've been talking, saying we're going to do that the last couple of breaks. You're listening to Power Talks. The number to call is 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. And Melody and Beth Ann. We'll be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. 717-300-1218 is the number to call, 717-300-1218. You never know where we're going to go in the mornings. We just never know where our conversation is going to go. But Melody promised we were going to talk about North Korea when we came back.
But right before we do, I think this is interesting, and we'll see if it actually gets done, is about Donald Trump announced the release of thousands of documents related to the assassination of the late President Kennedy that's stored in the National Archives.
When is that supposed to come out?
It's supposed to come out, I believe, at the end of this month.
Okay.
October 26th, I believe.
Oh, that's this week. No. Yes, that's this week. That's Thursday. Friday's the 27th, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's the 26th. I'm not 100% sure.
That's this
But I
week.
think it is the 26th. But anyway, they're going to release these documents, and subject to the receipt of further information, he will be allowing, as president, the long-blocked and classified JFK files to be opened. That's what he announced. Now, subject to the receipt of further information, I'm not quite sure what that is. So, can they still reverse this? Maybe they can. So it's going to be interesting. Personally, I don't think you're going to find anything in there that's going to be a
Well, that's kind of what I think. It is the 26th. I just did a quick search on it, which is Thursday this week. I agree with you, and then I'm thinking, well, why are they pushing him to keep it down another 20 years? What difference does it make? You know, what difference does it make? Why would they want to keep it quiet for another 20 years? Keep it hidden from the American people another 20 years? If it's all what we already know anyway, what difference does it make?
Well, I think it could be the bungling, perhaps, of the investigation, or maybe even before there's been some commentary. That's if you're a person that believes Oswald did it. That perhaps the FBI
did it alone.
Yeah, they're talking about the FBI and the CIA might have had other evidence that there was a threat of an assassination, and they didn't act on it. And they didn't alert Washington. So, we'll see. It's kind of interesting to see if anything will be released, but perhaps it could be just the bungling of the CIA or the because you would have think anything that they would have had that would have been cleaned up by now.
Yeah, you'd think.
You'd think.
And I doubt that any of the things that would either erase or confirm the conspiracy theories that have been out there about this, they won't be in that. I wouldn't think any of them would be in that. And so it's going to be interesting to see what it is, and if he does that. He says he's going to, and that'll be this week. So
well, it's still subject to quote unquote further information. We're not quite sure what that further information is. But it's kind of like Obama's birth certificate, releasing a document so all the conspiracy theories go away.
Well, every one of them that they showed was different. Every time one came out,
I get that. I mean, I'm not saying it was his birth certificate. I absolutely believe it was fake, But I mean, for the GDP out there, which is the generally, well, I won't say that, but for those that are
there was a gentleman, and I cannot remember his name. It was Burgess, or it was Berg something, and he was one of them that had first initiated the call for that. And Derry my mentor had him on the air. And then later that week or the next week, I can't remember, that somebody had sent it to Snopes and said that was fake, that didn't really happen, that nobody was really investigating it. And I'm thinking, Snopes is not always right.
No.
Because we had the guy on the air, and I cannot remember his name, but it started with a Berg. Anyway, he was an attorney that was calling for that. And that was before anybody else had. I hadn't heard it from anywhere else yet, and Derry actually had him on the air. So Snopes is not always correct.
No, they are not correct all the time. But again,
running out of time, we were going to talk about North Korea, so
yes.
We're going to get on that.
All
what have
right.
you got?
You had something where North Korea is, the U.S. is
Air
prepping
Force.
for new.
Yeah. Air Force is ready to put U.S. nuclear bombers on alert status not seen since the Cold War. It says the U.S. Air Force is preparing to put America's strategic nuclear bombers on 24-hour alert to counter emerging threats, according to an exclusive report. Preparations are reportedly underway at Barksdale Air Force Base, the headquarters for Global Strike Command, to have nuclear-armed multiple B-52 bombers ready to deliver a crushing blow at a moment's notice. Defense One revealed a 24-hour alert status for America's nuclear bombs has not been seen since the end of the Cold War in 1991. I thought that was interesting.
And North Korea comes out and warns that the lunatic Donald Trump is running headlong into ruin after he puts the nuke bombers on the 24/7 standby. So that was North Korea's response to this. They also called him a hooligan. That just always amazes me that you have these top leaders just calling each other names. It's just like, good grief. Good grief. So, we'll...
Rocket Man.
Yeah, Rocket Man can't say anything. But also,
what would
what's
they expect you to do? They've been sitting here threatening Guam and threatening the U.S. Would they expect us not to put anything on alert?
Ignore them, yeah. But one thing also that's backing this up is on Friday, President Trump signed an executive order allowing the Air Force to call back to service up to 1,000 retired aviation officers that want to return. By law, only 25 retired pilots can be recalled through voluntary programs to serve in any one branch. Trump's executive order temporarily removes this limit by expanding the state of national emergency declared by President Bush after the terrorist attacks on September 11. I don't like anything when everything is used in the state of national emergency, but that one was never shut down. It was still open. And so this sort of supports the concern that we have a lack of military pilots, and they're bringing them back to active duty service. And my question is, we have an acute shortage in its ranks. So they're short 1,555 pilots at the end of the 2016 fiscal year, and that includes 1,200 fighter pilots. And so we're heading closer and closer into that direction of a situation breaking out. And Mr. Trump goes to the Asian countries November 3rd, which the timing on everything is kind of interesting, if he still goes. And so...
Yeah, that will be interesting. And, it's kind of scary for him to go. I think it is anyway. I also had an article here. It has nothing to do with North Korea, really, but it was a statement that came out last week. It was on Thursday, actually, then I got it, that George W. Bush he was making some statements, and while he wasn't naming the president, they believe he was talking about President Trump. I don't understand why they claim, I guess because of his stance wanting, the trade to be not to be fair, where it's even, we don't get the bad deal of every trade, like the TPP, every trade that we make, the NAFTA and the GATT and the CAFTA and all that, we always get the bad part of that deal. But they will call him a nationalist. They'll call him growing isolationism. I don't see it that way. I see that he's just going to make it fair. It'll be fair and balanced for everybody. But and the interference with Russia, well, they haven't proven that anything happened with President Donald Trump in Russia, but it is coming out that the Democrat Hillary Clinton had an awful lot to do with Russia, and so did several others who tried to hide the information. So he came out and he's talking against the president without naming names, and I thought that was a little lacking in professionalism, but we will be back tomorrow. Hopefully computers will be up and working, and we will be back tomorrow with more news, more truth. Melody, you have a great afternoon.
You too, Beth.
You can find me on CSC Talk Radio here in just a few minutes, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.